Hi, welcome to class. I'm Anika Spencer, and today we're going to be moving through an energize yoga flow. And we're going to be looking at acknowledging the strength and mobility, utilizing these areas of the legs and the hips, just getting them invigorated, the blood flow in, and kind of enjoying being able to use this area of the body in a balanced way. So to start, go ahead and come to sit down and on your glutes. Take your feet forward in front of you and tent your fingers behind you. And if this position is really comfortable with a long spine, go ahead and stay here. A different opportunity is to sit up on a set of books or blocks, and you'll want something to lift your hands today if you haven't already found that nearby. As you sit here, open chest. If you're on the block, let your elbows rest on your knees. And if you are sitting on the floor, you can bring the hands behind you. Close the eyes. Start to feel into your breath. Just like we're creating in the legs, create a balanced breath. An even breath. Watching the inhale and the exhale and syncing those two up so they're equal length. If it's available to you, start to pair this with a steadiness through the entirety of the inhale. So there's a similar force, a similar pace, similar texture. And a steadiness on your exhale, similar pace, similar pressure coming through the breath the whole way through. Add some audibility if you're not already there. And if you're up on the block, release your hips down to the floor. Walk the feet further away if that's helpful to you. On your inhale, rock your knees over and towards the right. As you exhale, rock your knees over and towards the left. Rock the knees over and towards the right. Rock your knees over and towards the left. Knees rock all the way over towards the right. This time sit tall, lift the arms up long. As you exhale, twist. Take your left hand to the top of your right knee, gazing over your back shoulder. On your inhale, stretch back through center. Keep your knees to the right. As you exhale, lower your right hand down to the earth. Lift and reach through your left fingers. On your inhale, stretch back through center. Opposite way, lower your left hand to the floor, reach and lift through your right fingers. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, fingertips to the floor, knees point towards the ceiling. On your inhale, drop your knees over and towards the left. As you exhale, drop your knees over and towards the right. Inhale, knees go to the left, chest can stay open and lifted. Exhale, drop your knees to the right. Move the knees to point all the way over and towards the left. Sit tall again, arms reach up. Exhale, twist. Take their right hand to the top of your left knee, gazing over your back shoulder. Inhale through center, stretch tall. Exhale, lower your left hand to the floor, reach up and overhead with your right. Inhale, come back through the middle. Little more intense, drop that right hand to the floor, lift and reach through your left fingers. Inhale, stretch back through center. Point your knees towards the ceiling, then tap your fingertips to the floor behind you. Walk your feet now so they're right in line with your hips. Point your fingers towards the back of your heels. Gather the shoulders together on the back, then present the front of your hips towards the ceiling for reverse table. Feel this freedom through the shoulders, maybe some intensity. Gaze can be down towards the knees to support your neck, or resting backwards if that's really happy in your body. Good. Release that down and towards the floor. Take the feet, cross them in front of you or spin them around to the side, and come onto hands and knees, tabletop position. Place your knees beneath your hips. Place the hands right underneath your shoulders. On your inhale, tip your tail up, stretch your heart and chest forward. As you exhale, look in, round and curl the spine. Inhale as you arch, stretch your heart forward, tip the tail up. Exhale as you round, press away from the mat as you curl. Inhale as you arch. Exhale as you round. Come right back through the center, bring your knees all the way to tap. Then shift your hips over and towards the right. Then move your hips back and towards the heels. Move your hips to the left and forward. And take a few more circles, loosening the outer hips. Sometimes it's nice to pad the knees here. Noticing the edges of the outer hips. Come back through the center. Widen the knees so they're right underneath the hips. And you might imagine or place a block in between the inner thighs so you have something to squeeze. Feeling the steadiness, the support that lives there when we're in a neutral position. On your inhale, tip the tail up, reach your ribs and heart forward. As you exhale, press away from the earth and round. Inhale as you arch. Exhale as you round. Again with your breath, inhale. Exhale to round. Inhale, come back through the middle. Walk your knees all the way to touch one another. Then shift your hips over and towards the left, towards the heels, to the right, and forward. Taking those circles at your pace. Finding the breath as you move through the space of the outer hips. Giving the knees whatever support you need. Even seeing if you can enjoy the movement rather than just enduring the movement. Come right back through the middle. Spread the knees to about the width of the hips. Then rotate your fingers to look back and towards the knees this time. Bend the elbows just a little, especially if you lock them out. And if you want to do just one hand at a time to make this a little more bearable, that's great. Imagine now that you're playing a piano and pressing through one finger at a time while you have the hands on the floor. Perhaps there's one finger, one space of the wrist that's most sensitive. Let that be interesting. And if you need less, you can walk the hands closer towards you. And sit back and on your heels or on top of a block. Go ahead and shake out the hands and wrists, loosening that space. Then come back forward onto hands and knees. Curl your toes under. Broaden out the tops of your shoulders. Then stretch the hips back up to high for downward facing dog. You could also walk the feet a little wider if you want more room here. Take some time to bend one knee, pressing that opposite heel to the floor. Maybe a small bend to that knee to shift what you feel in the back of the calf. Then switch it out. Press down through the opposite heel as you bend into the left knee. You can bend the leg that's pressing to the floor, and that will change where you feel this in the calf. Lift both heels, bend both knees. Take as many steps as you like to move your feet forward to meet your hands. Keep the outer edges of your thighs balanced over the outer ankles. On your inhale, stretch your chest forward for a halfway lift. As you exhale, bow back forward to your legs, forward fold. Press down into the floor with your feet. Stretch the arms all the way up as you stand tall. As you exhale, soften your hands down by your sides. With a deep breath, inhale, fill up, reach up. As you exhale, bow forward to your legs, forward fold. On your inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine. As you exhale, plant your palms down and shift it back into plank. Lower all the way down to the earth. You can set the knees down as you journey towards the mat if that's useful to you. Relax your forehead onto the floor. Hands can either be resting by your sides or planted right underneath the space of the shoulders. On your inhale, lift your right foot away from the floor with a straight leg, awakening the back of that right thigh. As you exhale, set the foot back down to the earth. Using the leg rather than changing the spine, lift that left foot up this time. As you exhale, set the foot down. Inhale, lift your right leg. As you exhale, set it down. Inhale, lift the left. Then set it down. Lift the right. And set it down. Lift the left straight leg, inhale. Then relax the foot down. Curl your toes under, elevate the hips back up to high for downward facing dog. You can press one heel to the floor again, noticing the difference in the two calves. Going between those two spaces or taking a slow, deep breath on either side. Bend both knees, lift both heels. Make that journey forward to the top of your mat, mini steps or one big step. Feet are right underneath the middle of the glutes. As you inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, bow into the legs. Press into the floor, stretch long through both sides of your waist. Palms can connect. As you exhale, gather your hands down to your heart. On your inhale, circle the arms up. As you exhale, bow to your thighs, abdomen draws back and in. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine. Exhale, plant your palms to the earth and shift it back to plank. Come forward to the tips of your toes. You can lower to the belly or halfway down. Then press away from the earth for upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog, hips go back up to high. On your inhale, lift your right leg, but keep your hips square so the outer hips are hugging in, the inner thighs doing some of this lift. If you want more for the bottom heel, you can start to let it lower heavier towards the floor. Abdomen's in. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your right foot forward and through between your hands. Press down into your right foot, stretch long through both sides of your waist, crescent lunge. As you exhale, slowly hover that left knee just above the floor. On your inhale, lift up. As you exhale, hover that left knee just above the floor. Inhale, straighten out that back leg. Keep that low back long and supported. As you exhale, hover that left knee just above the mat. Inhale, lift back up. As you exhale, straighten out your front leg and gather your hands in and towards your heart. Take your back foot, step it wider so you can melt that heel to the floor. Press into both sides of both feet and turn the hips to look straight ahead. Keeping the spine lifted and long. On your inhale, slowly tip halfway forward. As you exhale, press into both feet and slowly take your time, come back up. As you inhale, lean halfway forward till you feel that tug of flexibility. As you exhale, slowly rise, staying in that bottom section or steady all the way through. Just like we did with the breath, steady, even movement as you hinge forward. Steady, even movement as you rise back up. Good. Step back to the top of your mat, Tadasana, mountain pose, both feet beneath your hips. On your inhale, circle the arms up. As you exhale, bow forward, forward fold. On your inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, place your palms to the mat and shift it back to plank. You can lower halfway or all the way to the mat. Upward facing dog or cobra, chest peels forward, tops of the shoulders broaden. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips go back up to high. On that in-breath, lift the left leg up, but keep your outer hips on and active, lifting the inside of the thigh upwards. And it might feel like you're lifting legs, toes, or spinning a little internally. That might feel like an exaggeration, but it's probably not. Take one more inhale to lift the leg. As you exhale, bring that left foot forward and in between your hands. Stamp down into the left foot. Stretch up to tall for your crescent lunge. As you exhale, lower the back knee to hover just above the mat. On your inhale, float up that back thigh. As you exhale, slowly bring the knee to hover. Inhale, lift the back leg. Exhale, hover the knee. On your inhale, lift that back leg. As you exhale, straighten out the front thigh and gather your hands down and towards the heart. Take your back foot, step it wider and closer so each foot has its own lane that's about the width of the hips. Feel your waistline zip in and hold you taut and centered. On your inhale, tip halfway forward, just going until you feel that tug of flexibility. And as you exhale, press down into both feet and steadily rise, not rushing any space along the way. On your inhale, lean halfway forward. As you exhale, slowly rise, feeling a contraction of the back of the leg. As you inhale, tip forward, finding the length. As you exhale, rise, feeling the strength of coming out of that resistance. Good. Release. Step back forward to the top of your mat, Tadasana. Take a cleansing breath. Inhale through your nose. As you exhale, send it out the mouth. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, bow forward to your legs. On your inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, plant the palms down, shift it back to plank. Option this time to float up that right leg, but reminder that we're using the back of the thigh rather than tipping into the spine. Lower halfway down for chaturanga. Then press away from the earth for upward facing dog. As you exhale, downward facing dog, hips back to high. Bring the toes to kiss this time. Stretch that right leg up. Then rotate the hip to look open to the side, bending the knee. Shoulders keep squaring. Core is supportive. Take one more inhale through your nose. As you exhale, bring the right foot forward in between your hands. On your inhale, stretch up to tall. Lengthen through both sides of the waist. As you exhale, weave your fingers together and place them on top of your left leg. Press down into the right foot, then lift that back left thigh from the strength of the back of the leg. On your inhale, press the heel towards the back of the room. Keep wrapping your outer right hip away from your ear. As you exhale, bend both knees. Bring that left knee in line like it's going to tap the inside of your right knee. On your inhale, stretch the heel back. As you exhale, bring the knee in. On your inhale, stretch the heel back. As you exhale, bring the knee in. Inhale, stretch the heel back. As you exhale, release the hands down towards the floor. Lift that back leg up, standing splits. If you're feeling a little flirtatious, you could take one hand to the ankle, maybe two hands to that space to test the balance. Stay connected and steady with your breath. Step it back for your crescent. Inhale, reach up. You might even reach a little back this time to feel that tug of length across the left hip. As you exhale, plant your palms down towards the earth and shift it back into your plank. Float up the left foot if you wish it, but use the back of the leg rather than changing the spine. Lower halfway to the earth. Upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog, hips go back to high. Toes touching, lift the left thigh. Rotate the hip open to the side. Keep hugging that right glute underneath you. Like it's going to stay stacking right on top of your right ankle. Take another sweet breath in. As you exhale, bring that left foot forward between the hands. Inhale, stretch to long, rising up for your crescent. Then weave the fingers together on the top of the thigh. Press into your left foot, lift up that back leg, but keep wrapping the outer left hip away from your ear or armpit. Good. On your inhale, stamp the heel towards the back of the room. As you exhale, bend both knees, bring your right knee in line with your left. Inhale, press the heel back. Exhale, bring that back knee in line with your left. Inhale, press back with your heel. Exhale, align the knees. Inhale, press back with the heel, release the hands to the floor. It's standing splits on the left leg. If you'd like, you could bring a hand to the ankle. Two hands could come to that space. A great time to release any tendencies you have in the neck. We don't have to look ahead to the floor. And even you might enjoy looking towards the ankle or the foot. Step back for your crescent. Inhale, reach high. You can even reach back. As you exhale, release your hands down and towards the earth. Shift it back and into your plank, but soften your knees to the floor. Sit back in onto the heels, and that might mean placing a block or two or a book behind your glutes. So let that length come into the top of the thighs, creating a nice little length through the space of the knees, the quads. If there's more room in your body, you could even sit closer towards the earth, bringing your glutes all the way to the floor, but we're not looking for any side-to-side pinching or pain. Come home to the breath. Great time to close the eyes. Is the breath still steady and even between the two sides? Is there any quality between the beginning, the middle, and the end? And then come back to hands and knees. Make sure your blocks or tools or weights, whatever you're using to lift the hands, are handy right at the top of your mat. Curl your toes under and elevate the hips to high for downward facing dog. On your inhale, lift your right leg. You can turn open or keep it steady for stability. As you exhale, bring that right foot forward and between the hands. Crescent lunge, inhale, rise all the way up. As you exhale, bring your hands forward and onto blocks, walking them ahead of your torso and lifting up the back leg. Same energy of lift and squaring off we had when the hands were on the thighs. This time, as you inhale, stretch that heel towards the back of the room. As you exhale, take your left heel high and wide towards the left side of your mat. If you need a little less, you can bend the knee. On your inhale, left heel stretches back. Keep your right hip right over your right ankle as you sweep that left heel high and wide to the left. Inhale, stretch the heel back. It's so fun. As you exhale, move that heel high and wide. Inhale, stretch the heel back again. Exhale, move the heel high and wide. One more time. Inhale, heel presses back, hip square. Exhale, left heel reaches wide, right hip stays in. Inhale, stretch the heel back. Then step long for your crescent in breath. This time, drop your right hand over to the right. Take your left fingers, stretch them up and overhead, side body length. You might even look down towards the floor and let that left shoulder move. This will probably test your balance, but also explore the waistline and the outer edge of the hips. Come back through center. Inhale. As you exhale, plant your palms down and towards the mat. Shift it back in into plank. Then set both knees down and towards the earth. Take your left foot, stretch it backwards towards the wall behind you. Then hook that left knee behind your right. You can either walk the hands closer towards you as you sit the hips heavier towards the heels, or if you want to test your balance, start to stand up on the knees. Coming up, you can place the hands on the hips. You might even bind that right arm underneath the left. Keep turning your hips towards straight ahead and gathering in that side of your waist. Last breath here to find that hip length. Good. Then release it. Take both hands down and towards the earth. Take that left foot, stretch it backwards towards the wall behind you. Then move that foot widen out to the side of your mat. You can stay right here or lower the forearms down. We'll feel a heaviness in the inner thigh. If you want to walk the hands out to forward for Anahatasana, that can be an add here for the shoulders. Then walk your hands back in underneath your shoulders. Come back to downward facing dog, elevating the hips back to high. On the inhale, lift the left leg. You can stay square or turn the hip open. As you exhale, bring that left foot forward and between your hands. Inhale, stretch to tall for your crescent. Exhale, walk your hands forward and on top of the blocks, floating up that back thigh. Outer left hip is wrapping away from your left armpit. Back inner thigh is lifting itself. On your inhale, take that right heel high and wide, as high as it goes with the left hip in. As you exhale, stretch it towards the back of the room. Exploring with these actions of the hips. Inhale, lift high and wide. As you exhale, press it back. Inhale, move that right heel high and wide. Maybe it's as high as your right hip or closer towards the floor. As you exhale, stretch it back. Inhale, reach it high and wide. Then reach it back. Last one, right heel lifts high and wide. As you exhale, right heel reaches back. Step back to your crescent. Inhale, reach tall. Left hand lowers by the side of your hip. Right hand reaches up and overhead. Side body length. If you want to explore some, you can move that top shoulder, rotating the ribs to look more towards the floor or wrap back. Feeling that whole line of tissue that goes through the sideline of the body, this chain of command. Nice. Inhale, stretch back up to tall. Release the hands down towards the floor. Shift it back in into your plank. Settle the knees down and towards the mat. Take your right foot, stretch it backwards and behind. As you exhale, nestle your right knee behind the left, and for a simpler, maybe more mobility-focused variation, melt the hips back towards the heels. If your left knee lifts, that's great. We're just looking for sensation in the outer hips and a stability in the shoulders. No need to crunch up in towards the bottoms of the ears. If you took it on the opposite side, now might be when you test yourself by standing up on the knees. Finding the arms the opposite way if that served you in your practice. Standing on the knees, usually trickier than we expect. Keep turning that back right hip bone to look more forward. Unravel the arms, inhale. As you exhale, walk your hands out to forward. Take that back right foot, stretch it back towards the wall again. Then move the right foot, widen out to the side, and set the foot to the mat. You can set the forearms down. You can walk the hands out. Letting the emphasis here be the sensations of the inner thigh. If what you find is an absence of sensation, you might adjust, ensuring that you're in the position that works and serves you. Or you might acknowledge the degree of freedom, the lack of inhibition that exists in certain places of your body. When we scan the body, sometimes what we look for is the discomfort or the pain or the inhibition. Today you might look for the pleasure, for the freedom. For the spaces that are functioning and well. Walk your hands back underneath your shoulders, then place your knees back underneath your hips. Sit back and onto your heels again. Once again, you can place something underneath the hips. You can sit on the heels. We're just looking for the full range of motion, and everyone's is a little different, and sometimes there's a distinctive difference between the two sides. If there's a lot of room in your body, sit your glutes all the way down and towards the floor. And if you want a little more, you might tip back, lengthen the tail underneath you, and really feel this in the top of the quads. This might create an opportunity to come down to the forearms. And if there's a lot of range of motion in your body today, you might come all the way down and onto the back, keeping the inner thighs close together, and the knees pinned down towards the floor. If you feel this in the lower spine, great opportunity to stay a little higher and really emphasize the quads in the front of the hips rather than trying to touch the floor or arrive at a certain space. If you have any whiplash here, it might be nice to keep your gaze more down towards the legs. And then slowly make your way all the way back up. Extend your legs forward towards the top of your mat. Curl the toes back in towards you, lengthen through both sides of your waist. Then extend your torso over the thighs and breathe into the backs of the legs. You can hold the outer calves, you can hold the feet or use a strap or a towel. No need to force this to be anything other than it is. Then sit back up tall. Bend your knees and recline down and onto your back. Great time to find your blocks or your book that you're working with, and we'll elevate the hips up and place the hips on top of a block. Then stretch your feet up and towards the ceiling. If you'd rather come into a shoulder stand, if inversion practice is your favorite, great. We just want to be really mindful of the neck, being sure that we're not putting any unnecessary pressure on the cervical spine. And if you're feeling the supportive variation, you're going to get all those benefits of having the feet above the head, of being inverted. And tapping into the inner thighs as you inhale, widen out the feet. Then as you exhale, slowly bring the inner legs closer and closer together. On your inhale, widen out the feet. As you exhale, bring the inner leg slowly back together. And keep moving with that pattern. We did a lot of activation for the outer hips. Spending some time tending to this line of the inner legs as well. Looking for the two sides of the legs, the two sides of the hips to be in balance with each other, just like we did with the breath. Taking just 3 more rounds. You might even challenge yourself to go even slower in this re-knitting process. Can you make it longer than the last few? Can you gather more benefits by moving more slowly through the process? Then bend your knees. Place the feet all the way to the floor. Lift your hips up and off the block, then move that block aside. Gather the knees towards you. Give yourself a little squeeze, rock side to side. Then draw the knees over to the right side of your mat and twist your gaze to look to the left. On your inhale, take a count. Notice how long it takes you to fill up. Then on your exhale, match that count. Inhaling steady and even for the count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then exhaling steady and even for the count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your knees back through the middle. Then shift the knees over and towards the left side. Two, and 1. Yeah. Exhaling for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhaling for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhaling for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your knees back through center. Extend the legs nice and long. You can explore with rotating the toes in and rotating the toes out. Noticing what is your natural set point as far as turnout. Or perhaps, what is your accumulated set point? Close the eyes. Utilize a neutral position in the shoulders. That might mean sliding the shoulder blade tips down the back or broadening out the chest, or simply relaxing any lift you might hold on to in that space. Observe a gentle breath. Bring your attention into any areas of the body that are pleasurable, that are functioning well. And if you're not sure where that might be, I like to feel into the palms, observing the sensations of the fingertips, letting that same warm attention now spread through other areas of the body. Perhaps you take note of what is naturally and easily functioning. Your rest, your breath, your heartbeat, your digestion, your elimination, all things we often take for granted. Traditionally, we call this practice of receiving what is well, what is pleasant, samtosha or contentment. And wake up, inviting some movement back in, circling the wrists or ankles, moving fingers or toes. Stretch an arm up and overhead. Then rotate onto that outer hip. Press away from the earth. Come all the way up and into a seat. You can elevate the hips onto something for a little length in the low back, or stay seated right on the floor. Connect your hands in front of your heart and chest. Close your eyes. Then bowing into the practice, I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. Great job. Please follow us, subscribe to this link online to enjoy other amazing classes, as well as reach out to us over email if you want to book your one-on-one consult with one of our amazing staff. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe.